Evening, everybody. Wow, this is a fantastic venue, I must say. Don't get out to Bowden very much, but when I do get out here, I'm always very surprised and pleased to see how things are progressing out here. But I want to talk a bit about Tonsley tonight. I'm, like Ken said, I'm the sustainability manager for Tonsley. I've been on the project for just over a year and a half now. So brought in to really push the sustainability initiatives as much as we possibly can at Tonsley, and my brief was deliver a Green Star community for Tonsley. So tonight I just want to give you a bit about the project. I apologise if a lot of you already know a bit of history about Tonsley, but I'm going to go over a little bit of that, some facts around what we did in the master planning process, and then touch a bit more on Green Star communities, what that means, why we went down this route, and then some of the individual sustainability initiatives that we've got going on down at Tonsley. So just to give a bit of a brief picture on the history. So the Tonsley story really has its history in the regeneration roots and of the decline of the automobile manufacturing industry in Australia. So it's timely given the things that are going on with things around Australia, generally with the automotive industry. But Mitsubishi closed its doors back in 2008 to manufacturing for the last time. And this really represented more than a loss of an industry, but it was really affected the whole community and neighbouring communities and in Clovelly Park and generally around South Australia. So the 30-year plan for Greater Adelaide always had Tonsley earmarked for development around sustainable industries and green industries. So the vision was launched to become an exemplar, interconnected, intelligent mixed-use precinct, which integrates industry, education, training, research, residential and community amenities. And it's great to have some of the people in the room tonight. I know Tafer in the room tonight, and we're really pleased that we've got some of our key anchor tenants in, and Flinders University have just joined us recently as well. So just in terms of some facts here, you see an aerial of the development itself, the red line delineating what Tonsley is, 61 hectares, about 10 kilometres south of Adelaide CBD, which you see in the distance over there. 11 hectares of the central core of the site was actually the old main assembly building, or where Mitsubishi Chrysler previously manufactured the cars. So I'll touch a little bit on what we've been doing in that space a bit more further into the presentation. Essentially, Tonsley is a 20-year project with about $250 million worth of investment, and it's been jointly delivered between Renewal SA and the Department of State Development, which is a really important point. Keep getting told by masters to reinforce that point. The objectives around economic growth, sustainable development, livable communities, placemaking, which is really starting to come to the boil now, governance and corporate responsibility. So a bit more about the master plan. Here's the master plan for Tonsley, the latest master plan as is. It's quite good to have colours to talk to. In the top left, you see the area that's earmarked for the future residential precinct. So that's 11 hectares of residential community that will be coming on board, around about 1,200 residents, about 800 dwellings. The orange is representing the high-value manufacturing element of Tonsley. So they're the fringes around, with red being the commercial light industrial spaces on South Road and on the fringe of the TAFE building there. And the blue spaces either side of the main assembly building, that's Flinders University to the north and the huge TAFE building to the south there. And the central part is the thing you saw on the aerial before, which is the core of the site, which is the main assembly building. So the master plan was really around the project vision and providing significant opportunity, for significant stakeholder engagement and consultation. And we did I think there was a cultural history report which commissioned, which really was about keeping the core infrastructure of the site, and we've tried to do that as much as possible through the development of the site. Just some facts on Tonsley. So projected around 6,300 workers, about 1,200 residents, which I've already touched on, and 2,000 students per day, which we're starting to see more as TAFE and Flinders have opened their facilities on site. Most importantly, sustainability has been a core feature of the master plan process from the outset. So that's really what's driven a lot of my work, and I've been working pretty closely with the design managers and various actors on the development. So Green Star Communities. So Green Star Communities, for those of you that don't know, this concerns itself with at the master planning level. So it's probably applicable for really well applicable for developments like Tonsley. There's got such a diverse spread of community levels and infrastructure that's going to be built. Green Star Communities is really broad in terms of its remit. It talks to economic development, livability, design, and the core sustainability features of environment. So that they're things like waste management, potable water reuse, and energy efficiency, peak demand, those kinds of initiatives, and also around transport as well. So Tonsley registered for its Green Star Communities back in 2013, and since then we've been working towards achieving a 5-star certification through the Green Building Council. It's important to say that Green Star Communities is a pilot tool, so we've been working with Green Building Council very much as a learning process, and they've had a lot to learn from Tonsley as a mixed-use development, and we've learned a lot from them. So it's been a really good two-wave process. Why did we choose a communities tool? Well, it really fitted the brief for the size of the site. It allowed for the integration and a framework for to talk about sustainability precinct principles at a very strategic level. It helps us to maintain a focus on sustainability outcomes for the projects, and it demonstrates a joined-up approach with where Marion Council are going with their environmental management space. So really is a good fit from a number of angles, and Marion Council have started to explore this in terms of helping them with some of their policies and programs as well. Important to say around the urban design guidelines, we have urban design guidelines in place for Tonsley, and that really sets the framework for the built form on site, and that's really integrated with the Green Star Community as well. So just about coordination, it just leads to better sustainability outcomes for us. And we're getting pretty close to our certification now, so hopefully that will start coming out in the next few months. So just wanted to talk about some of the sustainability features of Tonsley. These are the 5 themes of Green Star Communities, and just listing here some of the things that we've got in place or that we plan to do in the future. Top one, few of us in the room tonight, past and present. Heather used to sit on our sustainability reference group, and we've got a few others in the room tonight who sit on this group. So this group really helps to inject sustainability ideas, and it acts as a visioning workshop opportunity for the Tonsley development. So there's a future governance entity coming on board further down the line. Best practice environmental management, that's the standard things around contaminated land management, and we've put in place a climate change adaptation plan, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail. I'll talk about the adaptive reuse of the map in a bit more detail further into the presentation. Urban design guidelines we've already touched on. We already have a placemaking strategy and public art element going forward with the site. We've put in place an integrated transport strategy, and we've started to push out some of the initiatives for those. LED street lighting is standard across the site. We've worked pretty closely with SA Power Networks and in terms of the urban design team to develop a pretty unique Tonsley street light, which will be rolled out across the precinct. We've got a water-sensitive urban design strategy, and we're starting to roll out elements of that in terms of rain gardens and connecting into the Oaklands Park stormwater retention system. We've got a pretty huge solar project going forward, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail later, and in terms of ecology with internal forests in the main assembly building. In the economic space, we've got a telecommunications master plan, and that's being built around resilience, allowing a multi-carrier system to be implemented. So that's really about enabling and future-proofing the site in terms of telecoms and providing fibre to premises. Co-working space, we've just opened a co-hub down at the old Mitsubishi headquarters on site. So that's really about providing affordable working space for startup businesses, and the idea is to get small businesses into Tonsley as a leverage to allow them to grow on the site and generally. And Adelaide Living Laboratory, which I'll touch on in a bit more detail right now, actually. So Adelaide Living Laboratory is something that's come through as a collaborative research centre project. Phil Donaldson, who's worked pretty closely on the Tonsley Development, leads this project on behalf of the CRC and SA government. And what this is really about is providing a sandpit for research, and it concerns the Tonsley Development, but Bowden are also involved, and Lockhill Park developments are also involved in this. So this really is about connecting industry in with academics. So it's about research being industry-led, and we've got site reference groups established, and Flinders and TAFE and some of the site tenants are already starting to input into that process. We've got a couple of core tasks going on. Energy master planning is one. We've got a co-creation task and one around the value proposition of green precincts as well. So that's something we'll continue to build on. Climate change adaptation plan. So we embarked on a climate change adaptation plan for Tonsley about a year and a half ago, and this was really driven through the Green Star communities, but it was about essentially making Tonsley a more resilient community. We were aware that there was a bigger, more strategic scale piece of work going on in the south, Resilient South, which was a joint initiative between 3 or 4 councils, including Onkaparinga and Marion Council. So we saw this as a real opportunity to build on that work and build on the community consultation that had already been done. So we did a specific piece of work homing in on Tonsley, looking at what the climate risks are, and then being able to build that into the future built development of Tonsley. So that was a really positive process. And what came out of that was we were able to do a community resilience guide, which is built into the site awareness, so tenants are aware of what the climate risks are. Adaptive reuse. This is a really key feature of Tonsley. The main assembly building was a really good opportunity to really turn something that was a previous use into a new use. So the main assembly building was retained, and around 8 hectares of that structure has been retained. So that means the embodiment of around 90,000 tonnes of CO2. The idea around the main assembly building was to provide a shell for new businesses to establish pod structures. A few of those have already been established. So Funk Cafe have started. Flinders University have already established a pod in the main assembly building, and we're getting more of a retail precinct starting to establish in that space. But the real driver was around energy efficiency and embodied carbon. So there's lots of thermal and light benefits from that space, and also it maintains a really unique and authentic cultural link to its previous history. So that's a really positive outcome from adaptive reuse. I should also say that TAFE is the contiguous structure of the TAFE building. That's to the north of that. That's also an adaptive reuse example. That's about 3.5 hectares of building, which has been beautifully realigned, and TAFE building is one quite a few awards for its adaptive reuse as well. So what's going on inside that space? The master plan is really put into place a connector for businesses within the main assembly building. So to the north, you've got Flinders University, and to the south, TAFE, which flank almost like the bookends of the TAFE. So we have a town square to the north there, which has a central forest area, which is just starting to be put in. The contract started, so we're going to be starting to plant that area up soon. And the town square is really the activator for the site, which is a true east-west connection from South Road through to Alderwoon Avenue. That's something that hasn't previously been in place. That really is connecting to an opportunity to connect two communities together. So where there were once paint shops, now there will be mixed-use value, high value manufacturing businesses and tenancies. Once where there were production lines, there will be thriving town square and retail community and an open forest space where people can go to relax and meet, and students become the minds of the future. Where once there were supervisor's office, will be centralised services to tap into. So the idea of the main assembly building is to have centralised services, so each building doesn't have to have those services. So there will be shower blocks, bike facilities, showering facilities, dotted around the main assembly building. So like I say, the map is really the central space which connects the wider precincts and beyond. This is just a slide which shows you what the pod concept was about. So that was really about forming structures within that building, and that gives you a few examples of what pod structures are like. So they're really small, portable, lightweight, adaptable, and designed to be connected to the infrastructure in the public realm and the facilities. So the focus is really on centralising services for energy efficiency within the main assembly building. And that's the retail precinct as it is today. Hopefully a bit busier than that today. Now we've got Flinders students and TAFE students in there, and some businesses starting to connect. This is the sushi restaurant, the Easy Mart supermarket, and to the left there, three little pods. We've just put in place table tennis facilities, and the stairs in front of you, that's the entrance to the Flinders University building. Wanted to touch a little bit on the solar project. We've just chosen Origin with site tenant Zen Energy to move forward in terms of resolving a delivery agreement to deliver this project. But essentially, this was a little bit different in terms of what we're really trying to achieve here is a generator retailer model. So it's not about buying panels and putting them on the roof. It's actually asking private sector to come in and invest in the site, and just some broad figures about what this could mean. 25,000 square metres of roof space available for solar. That's taking out the skylights and the shadowing from the sawtooth structure, and also the shadowing effect from the Flinders University building. That's got a potential to be 3.6 megawatt system, so that's potentially going to be Australia's largest rooftop installation. Like I say, the generator retailer model is unique in the sense that we're trying to realise economic, commercial outcomes, but also we're trying to dovetail that into pretty closely with really great sustainability outcomes and deliver sustainable, competitive energy for tenants within the main assembly building. So just to finish off, Tonsley is going to deliver an interconnected, intelligent, mixed-use precinct. I'm not going to say the whole mouthful, but essentially what we're trying to create is the enabling conditions for a sustainable precinct to be the future of live, work and play space. Thank you very much.